Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Not Fade This podcast. My name is Joshua Reimer, joined by none other than the man, the myth, the legend, Jared Block. Jared, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday afternoon?
We have our work cut out for us today. You smashed last night. We talked about Darius Garland quite a bit on the show yesterday. Talked about LeBron as well. And that was very, very good. I'm really, really excited about today's slate. I'm ready to get after it because my last 2 days have been terrible in terms of NBA. I got bit by the Orlando Magic, whatever the heck that was yesterday.
Absurd.
Bug stuff. Well, we're not talking about the Magic today, thankfully, because their matchup's terrible. With that said, we have a lot going on today. 12 games. There's a lot of superstar questionable tags as well. It's a loaded slate, and whenever we have double-digit games on a podcast day, I will always say, just wait to the end of the show to lock anything in. You shouldn't have even played anything yet today anyway, and if you did, Godspeed.
Godspeed indeed. Yeah. Definitely a good night on my end of things last night. Was happy to see LeBron come through and prove to keep beating Father Time himself. Keeps being a menace. And then, like you said, we talked about Darius Garland a bunch on the show. It's a play that you and I both liked. I'm just the one who happened to put it as the latter. So was happy to see that come through. That was definitely a good tag team effort on both of our parts. And yeah, excited for today's slate. Feels like there's a lot in store. Definitely a lot to talk about with there being 12 games on the docket. Jared, without further ado, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get into injuries, man.
Yeah, so the thing on this slate, we're not going to cover every questionable tag because there's just not enough time to do that. What we will do is we'll give you the big things to watch. Number one, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is in jeopardy of missing this game. Knee stuff, as well as an overall general concern of OKC going through this lull of the seasons, easily their worst stretch in the last 2 years. So SGA currently questionable. That would certainly shake things up because they have the highest implied team total on the board. We'll get to that when we get to that section. Other questionable tags. We talked about this on the show yesterday. Back to back for both teams. LeBron and Wemby are both questionable for this one. Wemby did not start. He came off the bench, played limited minutes, still scored a ton of points. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, if LeBron's out, Luka's going to go ballistic against the Spurs. Other questionable tags, more superstars. Cade Cunningham's questionable for this one. Jalen Duren, Tobias Harris already out for that side. John Morant, as well as a bajillion Grizzlies, are questionable, if not out. So that's the same. Brandon Miller is a questionable tag for Charlotte. Draymond Green got updated from questionable to probable for Golden State. Trey Murphy is a questionable tag for New Orleans after having a 40-point game last night. Was super happy about that. Other than that, I think key injuries to really hone in on and that actually matter. Onyeka Okongwu is questionable. That would elevate the spot for Porzingis and Jalen Johnson tremendously if he was not to play. That's a beautiful matchup against New Orleans. Let's see, what else? Two other major things. Number one, we are getting a lot of Sixers ruled in and healthy. And then number two, we are getting a lot of Denver Nuggets ruled in and healthy. So those are other things on the good side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Alperen Sengun still out. Jalen Duren still out. Josh Giddey still out. Just kind of listing through some guys that you missed that are pretty obvious to us, but maybe other people don't know. Jakob Poeltl out. Josh Hart's still out. Jalen Suggs is still out. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's a few guys at the bottom end of this slate. Memphis is still missing a bunch of guys, waiting on John Morant news. So yeah, pretty injury-loaded slate. That's what you come to expect with there being 12 games on the docket. Jared, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go into some top offensive matchups and talk about some top implied team totals.
Yeah, let's do it. Unfortunately, just as a caveat, every single implied team total that's really high has some major injury-related situations.
Yeah, well, let's break it down and talk it through. First team that we will talk about is going to be, like you said, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have a 131 implied team total here, 17.5-point favorites. Over-unders at 240.5 here against the Utah Jazz. Like you already mentioned, we know that we are waiting on this news for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. on top of Isaiah Hartenstein already being out too. I guess my thought is like, if Shea ends up sitting, like, what really ends up is it really going to be like a good Jalen Williams spot, or is he just going to take a back seat to someone else? I'm very curious to see what happens with OKC if Shea ends up sitting out.
Right. I mean, initially my first thought would be like play all the AJ Mitchell. That would be the most obvious one. He's been only been playing really like 25 minutes a game or less in this current stretch of games. From there, like if SGA's out, like what's stopping OKC from just ruling everybody out? That's my other concern. Uh, Now the line doesn't really confirm that, and I guess we'll see how that goes. But I guess it wouldn't be like things unravel very fast. They clearly need some kind of mental reset. The problem is that this is the spot you could get the mental reset. So like I don't know. I will. We'll see how it goes. Considering what is it, the 16-point spread?
17 and a half.
That tells me Shea plays, though I guess
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes with that. If it jumps down to like, if it starts to creep down, I guess we'll have to monitor that closer. But yeah, I don't feel great about Jalen Williams necessarily. I think this is more of a check game. I think this is more of a guard 3-point shooting spot kind of situation. The problem is things just look night and day different when you take Shea off the court. So yeah, initial thoughts. I do think he plays. I think that they use this game as like, we're just gonna beat the crap out of this and get this right kind of situation. But it will be truly interesting to see how people approach that. This is one of those where like, what, you throw your hands up in DFS. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's probably a spot where you just don't play it, but yeah, I don't know. Like, what type of message does it send out if you lost back-to-back games and then you're going to sit everyone and you've just had like
Not
the
good.
worst loss by a champion at home in NBA history, and then you're going to sit everyone? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, especially with them keeping up around a 17.5 point favorite. I would be shocked if Shea ends up sitting. I know he got downgraded to questionable. A downgrade is never any good. But I don't know, man. I just find it very hard to believe that like the line is staying where it's at. I find it hard to believe that like as a team, unless he's like actually injured. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's injured, but if he's injured to a point where he can't play, or I don't know.
They would
I'm
have
kind of
already
up in the
ruled
air
him
on
out
it.
if that was the situation.
Exactly right. Like I don't know. I feel pretty up in the air about it. I'm very curious to see where this ends up going. You can't discount a slide like this. Like I know it's only 2 games, but 2 games turns into 3, and then it continues to get worse. And obviously, they have a lot of hopes to repeat here. So we will end up seeing what happens there. Anything else you want to touch on with the Thunder? If not, we'll move on to the Hawks.
There are 3 players that are active on this team that are making over one above the break 3 per game. 2 of
Wow.
them are taking more than 3 shots per game. Obviously, one is SGA making 1.5 and then taking 4.5. The leader technically is Lou Dort, 1.6 field goals from above the break per game. 4.8 attempts, and then Chet is the third guy, 1.3 off 2.8. So not great numbers. They all do get elevated in this spot. Yeah, tough one to start with.
Yeah, tough one to start with indeed. If Jay did end up sitting, Isaiah Joe would be a guy that could end up chucking from 3 quite a bit. He definitely has that type of archetype, and he's done well from 3 over the whole season. Okay, let's move right along. Talk about the Hawks here, who have the second highest implied total. They're facing off against the Pelicans at home today. No Trae Young, still waiting on Onyeka to figure out if he's going to play or not, though. What are your thoughts on the Hawks here?
Love the game environment. This is easily there are some really, really good game environments on the slate today, but few approach the territory that we get where we have a game total near 250 of 248.5. Hawks are decent favorites, but at the same time, like New Orleans played an extremely competitive game last night, and they line up really well today. So I tend to think this one stays really, really competitive. So in terms of what you expect for the Hawks, our intuition was correct. We don't think Trae Young's playing for the Hawks the rest of his career. So we should expect that, and we should move forward. He's already out. So with that said, Nikhil Alexander-Walker should step in here, and Dyson Daniels should take a huge leap in terms of what to expect as well. So most times we've been able to, when we talk about the Hawks in a positive light, usually it centers around Jalen Johnson. I still think it does, but I think this one, if you're looking at it from any angle, you're going to realize that like this is a really, really good spot for guards, and I do think that we saw that from the Luka spot last night. Though he did take a backseat to LeBron, he still put up 30 points in this game, and I do think that if you're looking like sure, I think Jalen Johnson profiles tremendously well from a restricted area standpoint, but would I because you've already probably done the research on the Hawks enough to know, but for those listening and don't know this, it actually is Dyson Daniels who's the best restricted area scorer in this on this side. So if you're looking at the best profiling spot of any of these Hawks players, Dyson Daniels is the best one in my opinion.
Yeah, I could certainly get behind the Dyson Daniels spot. This Pelicans team also is allowing a bunch of both the big threes. This makes it feel like a Nikhil Alexander-Walker spot. Walker's taken 10 plus threes in 4 out of his last 6 games. He's had some flamethrower games too. He's had 6 in 2 of those games as well. 6 3-pointers made, which is pretty massive. And those games were very tough. I mean, one was against OKC, another one against a Toronto team that, I don't know, I feel like off the top of my head doesn't allow a lot of threes. So, yeah, Nikhil Alexander-Walker's been on a heater, and it feels like he can definitely take advantage of this Pelicans team that's allowing a bunch of above-the-break stuff. So definitely some good stuff for both guards there. All right, anything else here, Jared? If not, let's move on to this next team.
Yeah, I wonder how the Okongwu stuff goes. I'm really not super excited about Kristaps, even if like Okongwu were to miss. Just hasn't shown it to me this year on this team. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But if Okongwu plays, like this is a really, really good rebounding spot for him, and he has already done really well recently. 30 plus PRA in 5 of his last 6. The last thing I'll mention is that this is a revenge narrative for Dyson Daniels as well.
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, definitely solid there for sure. All right, let's move right along, Jared. Talk about this third highest implied team total, which belongs to the 76ers here. They have a 125.75 implied team total. They are also 15-point favorites against the Washington Wizards. Total in this one is at 236. What are your thoughts here on the 76ers?
Something that I did bring up but also failed to address. Number one, the 76ers are getting really healthy. Paul George does not have a minutes limit anymore. Joel Embiid's probable. Kelly Oubre's probable. Trendon Watford is probable. If they all play, things get really confusing. So that's why they're such heavy favorites. Also, I did not mention earlier that we have all the veterans sitting for Washington tonight. So Chris Middleton's out. CJ McCollum is missing his first game of the year. I think I saw that right, but he's out too. We already know that Kaishan George isn't playing, and so yeah, you get a lot of young guys against a lot of really healthy Philadelphia 76ers. We should also mention that Washington, can we say that they played over their skis yesterday to a certain degree, or was that just really bad Magic play? I'm not sure. So I don't know. You told me yesterday, you asked me, when talking about Orlando, are we factoring like is Washington a better team recently? And I think that my answer yesterday was yes, and it showed on paper and in the game. So I'm viewing this in a strange light. It's not like they're giving up a lot of points to any zones necessarily, and Washington has done really well against opposing point guards. So when you're looking at Maxey and like this whole scenario of them being like a top 3 offense on the slate, I'm shaking my head here. This one screams like fade the spot.
Yeah, definitely with how healthy the 76ers are right now, it's really hard to lock in on one exact player. I'm kind of fine with just staying away from it, to be completely honest with you. Like, I don't know. I think you can go to a VJ Edgecombe spot potentially. You can go to a Paul George spot, but like, are you really feeling comfortable with that on a 12-game slate? Doesn't feel like it should be a priority. So I am fine with staying away from those two and staying away from the 76ers team as a whole.
Yeah, Embiid's rebounding spot's pretty solid, but are you run into the thought process of like, does it get there? Do you get hooked because of a blowout? This one does feel like blowout heavy-ish.
Yeah, definitely does. All right. Do you want to go over one or two more teams? Do you want
We
to move
should, because
on?
I think we've painted the picture macro-wise where like we don't feel great about the OKC spot. We don't feel great about the Philly spot. Like that's a great. If we want to talk about spots, like well, let's talk about New Orleans. I think they deserve some love too.
Yeah, we can talk about New. Well, do you want to move on to New Orleans? They're not. We
I
can
know
move
they're
on.
not,
Yeah,
but maybe we'll give them their flowers at other parts of the slate. Maybe.
yeah, I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Let's talk. I feel like you kind of have to wait for that Trey Murphy news too with New Orleans. Like
You
that
do.
seems pretty massive at the end of the day, as we saw him have a dominating night last night. All right, let's move on to this fourth team then. Let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs, who have a 122.25 implied team total. They're 7.5 point favorites against the Lakers. Over-unders at 235.5. We always saw the Lakers play, I don't know, decently last night. They ended up outperforming. They ended up covering the spread, but like it is the Pelicans at the end of the day, and they were down to the Pelicans at the end of the day. So it was a tough game for the Lakers as a whole. We also saw San Antonio look really depressing last night overall. Like they ended up losing against the Grizzlies, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm checking real quick because I can't fully remember. Yeah, they did end up losing against the Grizzlies, 105 to 106. So they had a bad night last night too. Kind of teams, well, at least the Spurs team is kind of going into this one a little bit cold. What are your thoughts here, Jared?
Kind of similar to yesterday, where wasn't super excited about San Antonio, and as good as Wemby is, like him coming back and playing less than 20 minutes off the bench is just throws a wrench into literally everything. So we saw Stephon Castle fall short from his assists streak that he was on, and outside of like Champagny, I didn't like where everything kind of shook out yesterday. So, and we also kind of agreed that like if there was a game that they were going to sit Wemby, it would have been yesterday. So like I feel
Yeah,
even more confused now about what they're going to do, and I tend to side with the LeBron sitting. I think can we agree on that one? Like after he went ballistic last night, it seems like the writing's on the wall that he sits today. So, man, it's another spot where like I'm not super impressed. Uh, that's
yeah,
what I don't even have anything to add because I don't even know where to go with this.
yeah, I do really like the Champagne spot today. I think that is one that like feels like it feels really good for the San Antonio team. This Lakers team has been bleeding points to small forwards. Whether you look over the whole season or over the last 7 games, they've been allowing a bunch of threes. That's where Champagny's kind of been living. Doesn't seem like Wemby coming back affected him all that much last night, though I know Wemby came off the bench. It's a little bit different of a scenario. Still, I think Wemby still comes off the bench if he does play, and that's a big if. And then if you lose James, there's got to be a real question for this Lakers team of like who's up next at power forward. It'll probably be Vanderbilt, but like Vanderbilt's he's not built for these big minutes anymore. So I don't know. It's a very interesting death questions on this Lakers team. I feel pretty confident that LeBron ends up sitting. He had some pretty big comments last night about how back-to-backs for the rest of the year are all going to be kind of foggy for the rest of the season just because he's 41 years old and he has a ton of minutes right now. So yeah, I like this Champagne spot quite a bit.
I poo-pooed Wemby a little bit too hard, probably. 21 points still finished with, 21 minutes still finished with 30 points. So like, he's been scoring ridiculously in these lower minute type of situations. We should still expect him to play roughly 21 to 23 minutes, one would assume. Definitely not 25 in this kind of situation.
For sure. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, we'll cover one more team and then we'll move on to hottest shooters.
Okay.
Let's cover the Celtics here, who have a 120.25 implied total. They are 9.5 point favorites against the Nuggets here. Over-unders at 230.5. We saw this Nuggets team kind of miraculously end up winning in their last game where they sat everyone. Now they have a much tougher matchup against this Celtics team. What are your thoughts on the Boston Celtics here?
Yeah, and a completely different lineup to go against too. So
Yeah.
they do have a high implied total, and they're going to get a pace up spot here because they run at one of the slowest paces in the NBA in general. Nuggets defense hasn't been good, though. That definitely was a, I don't know. I don't even know. I think we kind of just throw the game out the last Denver game out of the window. Um, with that said, they're allowing a lot of corner threes and they're allowing a lot of paint and restricted area type situations as well. You don't have any corner three guys on the Celtics team. They're more of an above the break scoring team, and then they obviously use Jaylen Brown to drive in that scenario. Jaylen Brown's spot is very good. I'm a little worried about the most recent performances. He's kind of fallen off scoring wise and overall performance wise the last couple of games. This is a good spot for that to turn around. He can definitely get there from a paint scoring spot. He's one of the NBA. He actually is the NBA's top paint scorer right now. So over the last 30 days, I should say.
Paint, but non-restricted area paint. Should be
Correct.
clarified. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And then Nemias Queta is the guy I never like to sweat out for points, but he could do well in the restricted area today against who's the backup center, Duran Holmes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good matchup for him. For DVP, like this is a really really good spot for Derek White. He's a really frustrating player to sweat out. He has not been my friend lately, and I guess I have to kind of just forget about that and talk about him in a good light. They're allowing the most points to shooting guards over their last 7 games, so I'm keeping an eye on the Derek White stuff. But I think the whole thing could be summarized by saying this is a bounce back spot for Jaylen Brown.
I guess that's a key spot where is like, do you consider White the shooting guard?
I don't
Because
know.
I consider him
It's
the
a really
point
hard
guard. Technically.
conversation.
Yeah, I guess our research model considers him the point guard. I know the optimizer considers him the point guard at the starting lineup. You can certainly make the case that Peyton Pritchard's more of a point guard overall, though. I don't know. That's a very tough question to have, but it does make a difference, right? Because the Denver against point guards is one of the best teams in the league. Denver against shooting guards, like you said, a very vulnerable spot that guys have taken advantage of in the past. So one of Pritchard or Derek White could definitely have quite a night here, along with Jaylen Brown having a good one
Flip
too.
a coin. Good luck.
Yeah, yeah, quite exactly. All right, anything else you want to cover here, Jared? If not, let's get over to hottest shooters.
No, we can. I'll start the hottest shooter by saying like this guy's questionable. We've already talked about it. We talked about it a lot on the show yesterday. It is Trey Murphy, who's coming off a 40-point smash fest, and we talked about it on the show yesterday. It made the props.cash blog yesterday as well. He's made 3+ threes in 5 straight games, but on top of that, he has taken 9+ threes in all 5 of those games, including what was it? I think he attempted 16 threes last night. So um, they're just like letting him chuck a bunch of shots, and even if they're not going in at a good clip, he's still chucking. So he is questionable today, and I don't like him nearly as much as I like another guy on this side. But it's notable. He definitely is one of the hottest shooters.
Yeah, he certainly is. I'm going to go over to a late night spot here and talk about Denny Avdia, who's been on a tear over his last 3 games. He's put up 34, 33, and 29 points over the last 3 games. He does have a very tough matchup against this Houston team tonight, which is definitely scary, but he has been hot. And he's done it against some tougher defense. He did it against San Antonio. He did fall short against OKC, so take that for what it's worth. But like when it comes to hot shooters, it feels wrong not to throw his name into the mix.
Yep, agree there. From those 2 guys, like it is harder, especially when we consider like no LeBron potentially tonight. He could obviously be in this mix. I find it a little bit harder to really, really get behind like this section. I think that Kawhi could be considered here as an overall like just top guy in general. But I think I'll use this as a spot to talk about the Charlotte Hornets 3-point guys. And it's not going to look great on paper today, but LaMelo's hit 3+ in 8 of the last 10. Brandon Miller has 30+ PRA in 5 straight, 3+ threes in 5 straight. Had an awesome game last time out against OKC. He's questionable today too, so that makes things really interesting. Con Knipple, 18+ points in 9 of the last 10, which 3+ threes in 9 of the last 10. Like these guys are all top 15 above the break scorers, and they'll get pushed today. It's not an easy matchup for above the break three shooting. Toronto, over the last month, has allowed. Yeah, it's like the 12th most or 12th fewest. So like, I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Last guy I will mention is just Keontae George here. I know that like we've seen it cool down over the last couple games. He just barely had above 20 against Golden State, and he only had 15 against Portland. But before that, we were seeing 30-point games from him. And I think if there is any way for this Utah team to keep it close, it is going to be because of Keontae George. This is where this point guard position is the spot where this OKC team is really struggling. We know that they're struggling with above the break threes as well. Keontae George over the last 7 games is averaging 3.2 above the break threes per game, which is pretty solid when you compare him to league leaders overall. I like this Keontae George spot quite a bit. If there's one way that Utah stays close, it's going to be Keontae George having a really, really good game.
Yeah, I mean, we said that a couple days ago, and look what happened. So
yeah, we did. That's a good point.
So the final thing here that I want to just mention is that it's not as I don't even know where to put them throughout the rest of the show. I don't even know if we'll talk about this game the rest of the show, but we have a really intriguing semi-narrative situation here between Giannis and Steph playing each other in Golden State tonight. That goes back years and years. I want to just state that Giannis played his first game over 30 minutes since missing that bunch of time with the groin strain. He has played 5 games since coming back, and he has gone up in minutes every single time from 24, 25, 28, 29, and now 31. He scored 30 points in 3 straight games, double-digit rebounds in 3 straight games. Certainly is something to watch as in this one. I think it's probably one more game away from like getting back to Giannis normal markets for the PRA and the point scoring. So I do like Giannis tonight from that angle, and Steph has hit his PRA markets in 3 straight games against the Bucks. Now it's not a great 3-point scoring spot, but you know, it's 2 guys on 2 teams that desperately need to win right now.
For sure. Could certainly get behind it. All right. Anything else here, Jared? If not, let's move on to round table.
Let's keep going.
All right. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I will go back and forth going over some of our top plays in each statistical category. That is points, rebounds, and assist. We start out with points always. So, Jared, go ahead. What do you got?
All right. I will go and just talk about this Dyson Daniels spot a little bit more. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the top implied team total stuff. I do think that the revenge narrative actually is more than just a cherry on top. Do like the spot a lot for him. He has done well just pretty much every single statistical category without Trae Young on the floor. And I do think it's a phenomenal scoring spot. We mentioned it before. He's a top 15 restricted area scorer. New Orleans is allowing the most restricted area points per game over the last month. And then per our DVP stuff, the Pelicans are also allowing the second most points to shooting guards over the last 7 games and the most points in the NBA to shooting guards over the entire year.
Yeah, can certainly get behind the Dyson Daniels spot. You mentioned a guy in Milwaukee and Giannis. Perfectly fine with the Giannis play. I actually think it's really good. But want to bring up Ryan Rollins here, who gets into this revenge narrative that I think means a lot more than your typical revenge narrative. Yeah. We saw it play out I think it was back in October was when we saw it play out, or early November, somewhere around there. And Rollins dominated this Warriors team, put up 32. This Warriors team still struggles with allowing points to point guards. They're allowing the 4th most in the NBA. They're allowing the most made threes to point guards in the NBA over the last 7 games as well. This is a great spot for Rollins, DVP-wise and matchup-wise, and then you add in the spice with the narrative that this team kind of ditched him, traded him away, didn't really treat him as much. Now he's a starting player in a pretty talented overall roster once they get Giannis back. Ryan Rollins feels like he deserves to be mentioned somewhere on this show, so this is where I'll mention him.
Yep, that's great. I love that.
All right, let's go over to rebounds. What do you got?
Sorry, I was distracted because I completely forgot about that, so you threw me there. So, okay. Let's see. I don't want to keep taking like New Orleans, Atlanta, but it's so good that it's just going to come up a lot. Not going to do that here though. I'm going to talk about a play that I dropped in the Discord earlier today, and hopefully people have taken it. If you haven't, now's your chance. I do think this is a phenomenal rebounding spot for Ivica Zubac against the Knicks. Actually, both sides kind of stick out for this one, but the Knicks have allowed the fourth most rebounds to opposing centers. And I think that we're at the point where Zubac is in a spot where he's going to play a full amount of minutes. This is also a situation where like I expect to play both sides to play relatively big here. We just saw Zubac play 33 minutes in the last game, got that double-digit rebound mark. 20 to 33 minute jump is pretty sizable. I think he's good to go. He's had a day off as well since that last game, so yeah, the Zubac spot's really good. And then I think when I checked this, yeah, since December 19th, every single center has hit against the Knicks in terms of rebounds.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say I thought you just meant
No.
like
Points is
yeah.
the obvious
Gotcha.
no. But yeah, rebounds, yes.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, or it makes more sense at the very least. Yeah, I'm gonna go over to this spot for Joel Embiid. I think this line is just like too low at 7.5, right? Like we've seen him have 10 plus rebounds, or 10 rebounds exactly, not 10 plus. We've seen him have 10 rebounds in 3 out of the last 4 games. This Washington team's allowing a lot of rebounds. There's been a lot of talk in the Discord about how Alex Sarr is kind of like a soft NBA player, and I was kind of mentioning that's just kind of what you get when you have an international prospect. Embiid's also somewhat of an international prospect, but we know he's a big-bodied center and brings the strength to the game for sure. So I like this spot for Embiid. 7.5, again, like maybe they're lining it for the blowout, but it still just feels way too low for a guy of Embiid's caliber. So yeah, Embiid rebounds. Like the spot overall. All right, Jared, let's go over to assist. What do you got?
Yeah, just for context for Embiid, the my ladder play of the day yesterday was Wendell Carter in the same spot, and he had 7 in the third quarter, and then the game got out of hand, and they didn't bring the starters back in. So he
No.
probably should have had 10. Could see Embiid go for like 12 here.
Yeah, without a doubt. All right, assist. What do you got here?
For assists, I'll try my best to stay away from that game, the Atlanta New Orleans game, because there's still a bunch of really good spots everywhere for that one. We kind of talked a little bit about the Denver Boston stuff, which Boston point guard is actually the point guard. That could be interesting too. I'll go with Jamal Murray though. He's back, so is a lot of his team, and we should expect, at least for him, he should play a full amount of minutes. The Boston Celtics have allowed the third most assists to point guards over their last 7 games. I'll stick with Jamal here and not worry about the other guys.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely get behind that. Yeah, you got your chance to play this game. I feel like I should get my chance to get one play from this Pelicans Hawks game. I won't go back to the well with Dyson Daniels though, just because you already mentioned him on the category. I'll go to Jalen Johnson instead, who like I don't think you'll be completely convinced if you look at trend data that like, oh, he's a really good play. I don't even think DVP really pushes you towards that. This is one of those plays where you just feel really good about the environment that the player is in. It's an elite pace spot. You have 2 bad defenses. You have 2 defenses that really struggle with transition offense as well, which involves a lot of passing the ball. Yeah, I think Jalen Johnson just gets there off of the pure great game environment. So I'll take Jalen Johnson as my assist guy today.
Alrighty.
All right, Jared, if you're ready, I'm ready. Oh, well, any other plays you might want to mention here as we go along?
I have one when we get to the next segment.
Perfect. Well, let's get to the next segment and let's go over to 2 minds are better than 1. For those who don't know how it works, Jared and I go back and forth, each of us selecting 2 player props each. Goal is for the entirety of the props to give us a parlay that is around plus 100 to plus 150. We play it on DraftKings Sportsbook, just to make that known, but you can play it anywhere you want, whether that be Prize Picks, Pick'em, whatever. Last night we came up short. I think it was my fault. Yeah, it was my fault because Paulo ended up sitting. Really, it's the Orlando Magic's fault, but technically I picked him, so my fault. Jared, we move on to today. What do you got?
I'm going with the hammer Zion Williamson spot.
Nice.
Uh, you might have to play it now, or you might. I guess we'll see what the Trey Murphy news is. I didn't love that where he came in at questionable at the certain time that he did, but yeah, like this is just a monstrous spot for Zion. You really want to attack him specifically whenever teams are allowing a lot of restricted area field goals. The Hawks are allowing 20.8 per game over the last 30 days, which is the third most. You talk about like maybe no Onyeka too. That could even make things even better for that situation. Zion's taking and making the second most from that zone in that time frame, and on top of that, like our DVP stuff just screams Zion. Uh, it's an above average scoring spot. It is also Atlanta is also allowing the third most rebounds to power forwards and the most assists to power forwards over their last 7 games. So yeah, it's a spot we've targeted a lot, right? Like we've done this with Scotty Barnes a little bit. We've done this with a few other guys. Julius Randle was another one. But yeah, this is a spot where I know that he didn't play well against the Lakers last night, and he had a tougher matchup against the Heat a couple of matchups ago. This is one where I'm clear to just go right back to it.
For sure. 30 plus PRA work.
Yes, and then
All right.
obviously Trey Murphy being in or out would just elevate this more.
Yeah, Trey Murphy being out would elevate it. I feel like it's not that bad of a spot, even with Trey Murphy, and
Yeah.
we still like the spot overall. All right, I'm going over to Champagne. I mentioned, like, I think the spot's kind of the nuts, honestly, against the Lakers. Like, this team's just allowing so much small forward points. It almost looks too pretty on paper, which always makes me kind of scratch my head and wonder what I'm
Yep.
missing. But I just don't think it's a spot that you can turn away at the end of the day. So let's go with Champagne for 8+ points here.
Rare do we find a game where the team's defense DVP is exactly 30-1, which is what uh,
Yep.
Lakers Spurs is. Maybe LeBron's ducking this game because of that. I'm just
Me.
kidding.
Yikes. 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 All
All
right, move
right,
along here before I
move
leave.
along. Let's go. I'll try to pick a game that we haven't talked about, but I think I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I did like this spot. We didn't get to mention Charlotte really at all outside of like top shooters, but this one is purely a DVP play. Both teams, Toronto and Charlotte, are not allowing a lot of rebounds to centers, but in terms of Toronto, they're allowing a ton of rebounds, actually the most in the NBA, to the power forward position over their last 7 games. So I know Miles Bridges is a tough sweat, but we can play this in the L parlay section.
Definitely like it. Let's go with 5+ here to get the good odds. And then I feel like I'm kind of obligated to attack this Ryan Rollins spot with how much it kind of threw you for a loop, and feels like it just like the revenge narrative is serious there. So let's go with Ryan Rollins for 10+ points. Just to recap it for anyone that might have missed anything, we got Zion Williamson for 30+ PRA, Champagne for 8+ points, Miles Bridges for 5+ rebounds, and then Ryan Rollins for 10+ points. All together, it gets you at plus 126, Jared. All right, man. Let's get out of here. We got a lot more. Well, specifically, I have a lot more work to do to get ready for tonight's slate. But give the people your final thoughts. What do they need to know?
What was it? 4 of the top 5 implied team totals either have a superstar questionable or it's a really weird situation. Like specifically for Philly, all of their guys are getting healthy, and
Yeah,
so it makes things a little bit harder to digest. Washington also is sitting their key contributors. Yeah, this is a slate where we feel like we say it every time we have 10 games. Good luck playing DFS tonight,
yeah,
especially when you're waiting on SGA news, especially when you're waiting on LeBron Wemby news. We didn't mention Houston at all, but I really like some of their spots. With Şengün out, that opens up some key stuff for Kevin Durant and Thompson and Jabari Smith. Like, there's a lot of really, really good plays tonight. So if you are worried about blowout or if you're worried about SGA playing or not playing, there's a lot of other things to do. We haven't even in that rant. I didn't even talk about New Orleans Atlanta, which is the best game on the card. So it's a great slate in terms of finding things that are really really good spots, and it'll be really hard to lock in what the actual flag plant of the day is, Josh.
yeah. Definitely will be. It's one of those days where you definitely have multiple options. I feel like really good options.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, I really like the slate overall. Something that people, well, I don't know if there's really something that people should pay attention to. I really do believe, especially after today, that Trae Young is going to be a Washington Wizard. So just get ready for that trade news. I think there's too much stuff coming out about it recently. I think it's going to happen soon. I think when it does happen, there's going to be a lot of pieces moved from Washington. So make sure to keep an eye out for it because you could potentially get some injury value, or not injury value, but value on guys being out or whatnot. But yeah, it's a really solid slate. Feels like there's a bunch of really fun games that are going to be played today, and excited to take advantage of it. Jared, you got anything else? If not, let's get out of here, man.
Trying to line up when Shams dropped the news compared to when they were ruled out, because McCollum, Middleton, and Trae Young all got ruled out within the 30 minutes of each other.
I'm telling you,
No.
man. I think
Wait, 12:01 Central Time is when the Washington Wizards guys got ruled out. 2 minutes later, Trae Young got listed out.
I'm telling you, man. I think like that trade is like like especially with that news that like Trae Young's top spot is going to be Washington. I don't think there's another suitor for him really. Like I don't think anyone else is going to cough up enough pieces to get him. And I don't think like a winning team wants him right now. I think it's almost the inevitable that he ends up going to Washington. So like maybe that's why they're such big favorites. Because, like, I know the 76ers are really good. I don't know if they deserve to be 15-point favorites against Washington. Maybe it's because we're expected to get this Washington news. And, like, you know, CJ is already out. But feels like this news is going to come, like, within the next few days, not, like, the next few
Yeah.
weeks.
Completely agree. It could even be as soon as today.
Yeah,
When?
for sure.
This is where my lack of all this stuff goes much more of a baseball head when it comes to this. But isn't there a day really soon that has this trade implication deadline stuff? 'Cause
It's
the
like in
deadline's
February.
a month. No, that's like trade deadline. That's like a month.
Oh,
from now.
okay.
But there's like a day where like I'm gonna look really bad saying this, but I don't really remember what it is. Contractually, a lot of guys are like up for trade.
Oh, the recently signed thing. Like you can't trade a guy that you've signed 45, you can't trade a guy after you've signed them for 45 days. Or 60 days or something along those lines.
It's something around that, and so that's going to open up a lot of teams will be able to navigate the curtain stuff a little bit, the apron stuff a little bit more. So I think it's not a coincidence that both of the veterans got scratched as early as they did yesterday for the Wizards. So yeah, I mean, I want to be able to recap this video, so I want to make sure we sound good saying this.
Dude, I'm so mad. I mean, I don't, we're going to go off topic here, but you mentioned baseball, and then I saw Bob Nightingale ended up tweeting. Did you see the Cubs got Edward Cabrera?
Yeah, I'm pissed about it. Not happy.
Fuck, I wanted I wanted the Yankees to get him, man. Damn it.
Central is going to be really. I hate that for everybody not named Chicago. So it'll be really nice to sweat the props out. But yeah, he's going to be awesome for them.
He's going to be such a better player there too, I bet. They do such a good job of developing young talent. Oh, that makes me so mad. I really thought the Yankees had him too. That really sucks. All right, let's get out of here before I rage. Anything else, Jared, before we do get out of here? Should be mentioned, no more NBA podcasts until Monday. All right? We're not doing podcasts tomorrow. We're going to do NFL stuff, correct?
Yeah, we'll cover the wild card round. We might replace an NFL show with more NBA. We'll have to see what works out the best and go from there. But yeah, it's tomorrow's a small slate anyway, so we'd rather concentrate on NFL.
Yeah, either next week or the week after. We will start doing Thursday NBA shows. It's just a matter of making sure we're to a point at NFL where it doesn't feel like a podcast really benefits anyone. But we're not there yet because we still got lots of NFL games that are a lot of fun. So excited to talk about that with you either tomorrow or Friday, Jared. But no NBA show till Monday, so we will be back then. All right, you got anything else?
Nope, we're all good.
All right, let's get out of here. My name is Joshua Reimer. Thank y'all for listening, and we will see y'all on Monday.